Welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about money mindset. Why? Because mine is not so great. And it's so interesting that I've spent years asking myself, like, what did I hear about money? Or what were the beliefs that were instilled in me about money growing up and all the things? And I could never really get to the bottom of where my thinking was coming from. And so you need to know I have this hot potato money mentality where like I'm really good at making money, right? Like I have multiple streams of income, right? And so there's always money coming in. And I truly believe there's always more money to be made. I mean, there's so much money in this world that we can't even comprehend, right? But I don't hang on to it. Now, I will say most of this is reinvesting in my business. It's taking care of our family and our nutritional needs. It's being reinvested in things, but there's also somewhat of just spending and not keeping track of things. And then there was this underlying, like, no matter if it's money that I've earned or, if it's money that Zach's brought into our family, like even if it's budgeted in, I still had this underlying guilt every time I would make a purchase, even if it was in the budget, like buying groceries. There's always this underlying like feeling in the back of my mind of, I don't know, just like insecurity or uncertainty. And I was like, what in the world? Where is this coming from? It's not like either one of us earned this money by doing anything sketchy or scammy, right? Like we genuinely and honestly earned the money, the income that we have in various ways. And why in the world am I feeling guilty about money that was already allotted for this thing like groceries, right? Or whatever. And so this whole money mindset journey that I've been on is something that it's been a long time. And this weekend I was at a retreat, a leader retreat with some of the girls from our team, including my mentor in business. Honestly, this wasn't even part of the retreat. We were just having a side conversation after some local people had left, and we're sitting there and we're just talking to each other, like asking each other questions. We had done some dreaming exercises earlier in that day. And I've always had big dreams, right? Like I'm always someone who is going after something. I like a challenge, all of those things. And as I said, I'm really good at making money. That's not where the friction is coming in. It's the, what do I do with the money after? And like, how am I taking care of it? And we're kind of just doing some very informal coaching, actually just discussing and asking questions. Like they were asking me questions, I was asking myself questions, and just really like going through this like brain method without a method, essentially. And it was so interesting because we're sitting there and someone asked me, I don't even know the question that they asked me, but it was the first time that I really had clarity on why I am the way I am when it comes to money. And it actually started with, let me back up here a second. Like we were looking at like my childhood and like growing up. And, I remember, I think before I was getting married, my dad asked me, is there anything in our parenting that you think we could have done better? Or, some area. And I was like, finances. Like I didn't feel like I was prepared. But see, here's the thing. It's not because we had a poor or a poverty mindset. So this weekend, when they're asking me these questions, I'm going over this. And, in that situation with my dad, where, he asked me this and I gave him my feedback. And, because I've always had this mentality that like as long as the account is balanced, as in it's not negative, like you have at least a penny in the positive, right? Then you're doing a good job. But then that's competing with these big dreams that I have. Like that is small thinking. And that's not the kind of thinking that's going to get me to where I want to be when it comes to finances. Like, I'm going to put this out there, guys. And it's scary to put dreams out there because, well, we might fail, right? It's probably going to take a lot longer than we thought. It's probably going to require more growth from us than we could ever even imagine. But I will be a 7-figure earner. And let me tell you why, because I want to be a six-figure giver. I know everyone says, I want to be a six-figure earner. I want to be a six-figure earner. And I'm like, heck with that. I want to be a seven-figure earner so that I can give six figures. Because the truth about money is that money in the hands of good people will do good things, but if you're someone who is already stingy, if you're someone who, money is the end goal because money is what drives you, then it's never going to be enough. And like it becomes your source, and it can't be the source. It's just a resource. It's just another tool. Money is neutral. Right. And anyway, and so like those are my big dreams, but I'm like sabotaging myself in the day to day. And because of coaching myself and doing coaching with others, I have this high level of self-awareness, and I have this awareness in my thoughts of, why am I doing this, or why did I just do that, or like and going through those things and just having this awareness, probably that most people don't have, and it's a good thing. But it can also be extremely frustrating and annoying, because now I'm like, it's not that I'm like questioning myself or overthinking everything. It's more of like leaning in with that compassion and curiosity and wanting to know why I'm doing certain things so that I can get to the deeper thing that's under the thing that's actually the thing, right? And so it's like I have these big goals of, earning, giving, but then in my everyday life, I'm just spending here and there. And it's not like I'm buying anything extravagant. Like we don't have anything that's like name brand. We don't have like new furniture. I don't even know the last time we bought new furniture. And the only time we've bought new appliances is because we needed to, because we had to replace broken ones, whatever. Like we don't go on extravagant vacations. Now I will tell you, we are, by the world standards, a single income family, because Zach is the one that goes out and has the job and gets paid for his time. You get it. And I do a lot of different things at home. Technically, we like to say we have more like 1.25 incomes, right? But most of what I'm making is being reinvested back. But there's like these other discrepancies where like I'll just buy something and not really think about it, and all these things, and that guilt comes up. And so anyway, so we're having this conversation, back to the retreat. We're having this conversation, and I'm kind of going through like how I was raised and all of these things. And it finally hit me that my story is I don't know how to handle money. So therefore I get rid of it as quickly as possible. Interesting, huh? And then I also have the mentality that saving is boring. I think it's boring. I don't know. That's just me. But investing seems thrilling, right? And I'm always up for a challenge of learning. And so I realized also with this is that like, it's okay, like to be able to look at the situation, like to step back from it. Like this has been my biggest, I don't know, asset in my brain lately, is just the ability to step back and look at the big picture, right? To not take things personally, to look at it as like I'm gathering data, I'm doing research. I really want to see the full picture of what's going on here, not just how I feel about these things or like being in the midst of it, but like I actually want to step back and take a look here so that I can get to where I want to go and stop sabotaging myself because I have these limiting stories. And so that's kind of where I've been. So there was if you're familiar with Ray Higdon, this was probably last week, early in the last week. He was offering a 4-part training called the Money Mindset Mastery class or something like that. Anyway, it was like $207. That's a drop in the bucket. Like I said, I'm someone who always thinks, like I truly believe that there is more than enough money in this world to go around. And we are paid for the value that we add, right? You want to increase your bottom line, you increase the value that you're adding into the world, and you do it smart, right? All those things. But I realize there's a lot about money that I don't know because, I mean, in reality, I was not taught how to handle money well, right? I was taught very minimally how to handle money so that you don't go in the red, but I wasn't taught how to proactively handle money, right? And this is something that I can learn. We can all learn this. And, that really starts with the news story of, I can learn how to steward my money well, but also to increase my talents, just like the parable of the talents, right? Like I currently am being like okay, not necessarily, because I am a hard worker and, and I do put value out there. I mean, I'm doing a podcast, guys. So I hope you get value from this. No, I know you do. I've heard from a lot of you that you do get value out of these. And it's something that I love, right? And if we can add value doing something that we love and stay consistent with it, like that's an amazing thing. So I'm not necessarily the guy who buried the talent, but I want to be the guy who doubled the talents, right? Like he got out there, he took some risks, like he did the things and he worked hard and he was consistent and he brought a return back. That was just greater. And so like that's what I want to do. And it's not for my glory, right? It's because God has put certain giftings in me, certain strengths in me, and I want to be able to get out there and do that, but not to sabotage myself in the foot. Like with the amount of money that I've made, here I am still sitting where I've got some debt, and also I don't have a lot of extra revenue at this time. And this is one thing that I just learned. So last night I was on the first call of this money mindset mastery class, and where are my notes here? It was very interesting because one of the things that they said was, it was about telling your money what to do. Like you have to tell your money where to go. And also the fact that no one ever got rich by addition, only multiplication. And I know this because I've been sitting back and, I'm a strategic thinker. So I like to see like the whole thing in my brain and then the multi-steps of how you get there. Right. And so I totally understand that. Like I get that because that's the frustration that I'm having is it doesn't matter how much more money Zach and I make, there is still something that comes up. Every single time, something unexpected. And so no matter how much excess we create, it's always gone because of some reason. And so we're stuck in this cycle of like, we don't get ahead, or we'll get ahead by a couple steps and then we're right back to where we were, right? And that's a combination of poor spending habits mixed with just getting kind of lazy, and the fact that we work as humans based on desire or pain. We're either moving towards something that we want or we're moving away from something that we don't want. And so when we get comfortable, then we tend to get lazy, right? Until the heat gets turned up and then we are prompted from the pain to get into action again, right? And so I'm sitting at a point now where I'm like between those two of like, I am sick to death of the pain of feeling the guilt when I spend money, just feeling foolish in the fact that I blindly spend money many times, and just take a we'll figure it out later kind of approach, which works in getting out there and being courageous to take risks, but not so much in the finance part at this point. But I know that there's only one me and there's only so many things that I can do, right? And so yesterday, Zach and I were sitting outside and we had this conversation that actually was pretty much the same conversation that we had 10 plus years ago, where Zach was like, listen, you're going to have to get a job once all these kids are in school because we have a lot of mouths to feed and we can't be a single income household forever if you have the ability to get outside the home and work or do something fully remote, those kinds of things. And in my mind, I'm like screaming because working for someone else when God has made me such an independent hard worker is really frustrating, because then I am dictated to what my priorities are and how I have to spend my time and what's important to me. And that frustrates the heck out of me. And I don't like to be monitored because I don't need to be monitored because I am efficient and I am strategic and I will move the ball forward, right? So anyways, so last night we're having this same conversation, like maybe we should consider you to get some remote jobs. And I'm just like, and I have all of these avenues that, I am creating income. I've got my health and wellness business partnered with Shackley. I've got my coaching mindset business with my co-coach Francine. I'm a personal trainer. I'm partnered with Core Fit. I'm doing videos for them, taking on clients for them as they come. Like I've got all these things. Like I've put books out there. Um, I, oh, it just, I'm just like, I've got all these things. Like the answer is here somewhere. And I just, going and trading my time for money in a traditional job just is not what I want to do. Now, I will do what I have to do, but that's not what I want to do because I look at myself as the asset in the family of being able to stay home full time and being able to, change my schedule as need be for my military husband and being able to change my schedule as need be for my children who are all just about in school, and the fact that we move a lot, all of these different things, like it blows my mind that I would even consider doing a typical job again, right? I don't know. But here's the other thing too. Like I said, I will do what I have to do. It's almost like I know too much at this point to go back there. And if you have a typical job, I'm not trying to offend you. This is just how God made me. Let's just say it that way. I've been like this since I was a little girl. Like creative ideas. Let's figure this out. We can do this. We don't need to fit in the box. There's another way. There's always another way. Okay. There's always another way. There's resources available and we can figure it out. But I continue to sabotage myself in the financial area because, I'm not making my money work for me at this point. I am the one having to work. So I'm kind of between that business owner and investment quadrant, if you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. So like I'm still kind of stuck between those, and and it's not that I'm like really stuck between those. Like I think that's probably where I want to be forever. And actually, Zach asked me, or we were having a conversation about retirement at one point, and he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to retire, and these are the things I want to do." And I was like, retire? Blech. Like, that sounds terrible to me. Like, but, and we did come to the point that, his time is being dictated for him right now because he has a job, right? He has a career. Whereas mine is not dictated by anyone but myself. And actually, and this is the other thing, this aha that I've had recently is that I don't have a fire under my butt. Like, we're comfortable, right? Like we're not uncomfortable in the fact that we're super deep in debt. We've got a little bit on like each of our credit cards, but very minimal. And we own all of our vehicles outright. We don't have any car loans there. Our house, obviously we have a mortgage on our house. But like that's it. You know what I mean? And so there's not a fire under my butt saying like, oh, we're going to be out on the curb if I don't start bringing in 60K plus a year, right? And that can be a problem in the sense of the mindset behind it because I don't have the pain applied at this point to really get me into action because I'm comfortable with the discomfort of being frustrated over the fact that we can never get ahead. Right? But I'm getting to that point. I'm getting to that breaking point, and I might have already been over it now, but I'm sick to death of this feeling of frustration, of like this impending, like, oh, I have to get a traditional job, like over my shoulder. And the fact that I've always had these big dreams in what I can do, what God is doing through me, how I can show up in this world and get paid for it. And yet, it just always seems like okay, and I don't want to say it's not there, like I haven't had any success because I absolutely have. I mean, the fact that I have a stable business that continues to pay me month after month because I have amazing customers who love the products just as much as I do, and we're always going to keep ordering these for life, right? I've created this influence, if you will, of people who come to me because they trust me with their health issues and know that I'm here and I'm going to be with this forever and that I can help them. And so I am having more and more people come to me that I'm not necessarily going out and finding, because I've built that trust, I've built that community, and I have that influence with people, right? I lost my train of thought. But but it's still, I'm still not. So that's what I was saying. So, like, there are things, like, if I step back and look at the big picture, like, so much success, right? Like, I am not sitting home eating bonbons and doing nothing. Like, I am either making money or investing in my growth so that I can make more money, right? Okay. So, I mean, you guys, yeah, the whole conversation, which I think I shared in a different episode, that when I was talking with Alyssa, I was like, I feel like I have not done anything, and she's like, now let's just wait a second. Let's just look at this last year. And we actually made a list of all the things I had done. And it was like, wow, okay, I need to shut my mouth because I am not lazy. I like to do that. I like to challenge myself. Something from this weekend too that came out was just that I'm someone who needs to be challenged, needs to be working towards something. And so something that I've been taking some action on, I was doing some research on it first, right? Like, that's a part of getting into action, is like doing that and then deciding, like, okay, what is the next step forward, the next step, and keep moving forward, right? Triathlons. Something I haven't done before. Like, I've done lots of different distance of races up to a marathon. I don't really have any desire at this point in my life, but let's be honest, of who I am, who knows what the future holds, but ultra marathons, probably not. That just doesn't sound fun in any capacity, but who knows? A marathon wasn't fun either, but I still did that, right? Having 5 children wasn't necessarily fun, but I still did that, right? Building a business when everyone said I was crazy, and I had some nasty haters who were like, meh. That wasn't necessarily fun all the time, but I did that, and it's amazing, and I will always continue to do that. But yeah, triathlons. It's a challenge. It's something that I have never done before. It requires training. It requires showing up at a certain interval, doing certain things by a certain date, right? It helps to grow your mindset too. So anyways, the point is, of all of this is all about money mindset. So I encourage you to think back to your childhood. What is it that you learned about money when you were growing up, either from your parents, of what they said or did or didn't say or didn't do? Like, did they say things to you like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that? Did you think you were poor growing up? And that's interesting, because when I was asked that same question, no, I do not think that we were poor growing up. We had a beautiful farmhouse on like 5 to 7 acres of land. We had so many animals. We had horses and cows and chickens and pigs and dogs and cats and rabbits and goats at one point, though I don't like goats, and don't ever ask me to eat goat meat. I don't like it. I think it tastes the way that the animals smell, and they smell gross. So please don't. But like, I just remember always being outside and playing and having freedom and like being in nature where I feel the most alive. And like, and my mom was there, and I remember it just being a generally like happy, like, money was never talked about. I never saw it. It was never discussed, like anything like that. However, I just had this general sense of like, we weren't poor, like, and also name brand things and nice things and success by the world standards has never been something that I'm about. And so to me, I had a very rich childhood growing up, right? And so, but if you were to ask my siblings, they, and I've actually heard them say before that they disagree. They felt like we were poor growing up. And so, but like I said, never saw anything or heard anything about money. And like, I remember seeing my dad like balancing his checkbook, which I think he still does. Actually, he still balances his checkbook, like always. He knows exactly what's in there and what's not. And so, but like when it came to like my later years, I was never taught how to handle money. Like, my dad would give me all the money that I needed, right? And some that I wanted to do things, and I would take that and then I would transfer it to wherever it needed to go, right? But I didn't actually learn how to handle it. Like, I just literally was like, hot potato, here it goes to this, here it goes to this. But I never actually learned like where it comes from and where it goes. And so, all those things. And so that's where that story came from, is I don't know how to handle money, which it does have some truth to it because I was never taught that. But that doesn't have to be my belief. I don't have to believe that I don't know how to handle money, because I believe, now that I'm aware of all of this, that I can learn how to handle it well. And I can be confident through that. And I can lean into the numbers and not get irritated with them or avoid them. Or even, have that underlying fear of like, okay, payday's coming on the 15th, but now everything's already gone, right? Instead, telling my money where to go, right? I'm thankful that, we have always been taught to give money to the Lord. And so that is something that we have done. But pay myself, haven't really done that unless you consider investing into my business, which is, I feel like that is, because that's investing into my future growth, and I'm very futuristic thinking. But then like living on that 80%, like what does that actually look like? And that's where I want, I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, I feel like I've been challenged so much. And crazy thing. Let me tell you, I would hope, but I really feel like this is the Lord just orchestrating things in perfect timing. But I was on Instagram today. I was, posting, I was following up with some messages, those kinds of things. And there was a Grant Cardone ad, and it was for a free webinar. And I was like, I hear people talk about him all the time. I've never actually taken any training from him personally. And so I was like, what, I'll sign up for that. Here's the crazy thing. So it was literally happening in like, I think from when I signed up to when it happened was like almost instantaneous. So it was supposed to start at 8 a.m. Well, I didn't even realize when the date or time was. I didn't even look at that. I was just like, oh, a free training, like I could always watch the replay later. Because I do that a lot. Like I'll sign up for something and I'll just watch the replay later when I make time for that. But literally signed up, and all of a sudden like the video comes on. It's live, and I'm like, oh, like I followed the link, and okay, like, so, and then I was supposed to have coaching with Alyssa, and I was like, hey, so I signed up for a webinar, and it's at this time. So I really feel like this is where I need to be right now. And then, we'll do training next week, whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, totally. Just Fox or me, your takeaways and whatever. We could talk about those things. But it was just crazy timing. And then, I don't know. It's funny because if you send someone to my house asking for money, I'm the one you don't want to answer the door, because I don't want to buy something that I don't want or don't need for some reason. And you know what I mean? Like, just because you're cute and you're a Girl Scout doesn't mean that, okay, well, Girl Scout cookies, I mean, who can say no to those? Come on now. Okay, let's say one of those books, one of those like coupon books or something that kids frequently sell, right? Like, the person you want to answer the door is my husband, who is bleeding hearts of the world unite, and he will buy 2 from your student. Please don't send your kids to our door. But anyway, gosh, like, guys, I get so excited that I forget where I was talking about. So anyway, so I'm on this webinar, right? And I feel like my brain is exploding because it's such a different way of thinking that, like, I feel like at this point my brain is just like, we don't have these neural connections. Like, this is not computing. Gonna have to sit with this for a minute, pausing some videos and really just like, okay, like I get some of these concepts, like, right? Like, there's only one of me. And in order to create more income without trading more time for money, you have to create systems. You have to have leverage, right? You have to make your money work for you. Like, I understand all of that, but the rest of it, brain, ouch, is hurting. So anyways, this is what I was doing today. So I did decide, actually, oh, that's what I was saying all that about. Like, I'm usually the one that gets to the end of the webinar and I'm like, yeah, probably not. Like, I don't know, unless it was really good. But maybe in retrospect, that's not true, because most of the time I'm only watching a webinar because it actually intrigued me, because it's solving a problem that I've been having, right? Like, that's marketing 101. And so I do typically sign up because it's exactly what I needed to hear, and it's exactly what's going to help me to solve that problem, right? But I'll tell you, with this Ray Higdon Money Mindset Masterclass and with this Grant Cardone free webinar. And then I signed up for his 10X business plan because, guys, it was only $500. Like, for all that, like, it's like 3 courses plus done for you systems, which, like, here's the thing. If you know this about me, like, I understand systems. Okay. Tech frustrates me though. I've done systems so many times though. I can do it much quicker now, but they still frustrate me because if you just have one thing off in the tech, it doesn't work. And then you're like, why is it not working? And then you have to reach out to somebody at support and be like, why is this thing not working? Why is it not jiving? Right? Like when you got your like workflows with your landing pages and like all the things. And if something is off or something is not set up properly, it doesn't work. And it frustrates the heck out of me. So I was like, oh, done for you systems. Like I can take what I'm already doing, but ensure that it's actually going to work. Right. So anyway, so that was like the big piece that got me. But also like just the thinking, like that this is challenging my thinking so much. And it's such a good thing though. Like when was the last time your brain was challenged to the point that it hurt, but in a good way? Because you know that this is exactly where you need to be because it's about mindset first. The making of the money is the easy part. I'm sorry. You know, the handling of the money, that is going to be the easy part for me to learn. But it's the mindset behind it that has to drive it all. And that's why it's such a challenge for my brain right now because my brain wants to stay safe, wants to stay with what's known, even if it's uncomfortable. And that's the thing. You choose your discomfort because even in your comfort zone, it's uncomfortable. Because like me, maybe you're feeling frustrated by the fact that you have these big goals, but you're not, the daily walking out of it is frustrating, right? Maybe you have a huge weight loss goal, but in the daily walking out of it, you're finding yourself snacking in the pantry, right? Like, that's frustrating because it doesn't align. And if you're someone like me where belief is such a big driver, that disconnect of alignment, like that misalignment is like, ugh, like the most frustrating thing ever. It's like, because I want this, but I'm doing this. And why? Why is it not connecting, right? And so like digging in and getting like the thing under the thing that's actually the thing. I say that all the time. Like, and so that's what I feel like this class, this 4-part class, and now this course is taking me through because my brain is like, I don't like this. This is unknown. We cannot connect. We do not compute. Please stop. But I'm like, no, I will not stop because I know what is on the other side of this. And I'm sick of the frustration. And, you know, money is not the end all be all, is not the necessary, like the overarching goal, but it is part of the tool and the vehicle, like to get us there, right? Like think more money is always a better thing. I'm sorry that it is. It just is, you know, and I truly believe that because you have more flexibility and freedom in how you can show up. So it's like this 2-part thing of like managing, like handling money better, but then also being able to step back and look into this bigger picture driver of how to create that. And so I had coffee too. I'm drinking my coffee. That was one thing that really blew my mind. So if you're familiar with the latte, something or other, the latte factor, right? So it's essentially where every 7 years, your money doubles or can, right? So if you buy a latte for, let's just say it's $5, well, 7 years from now, that's $10. 7 more years, that's 20, right? Is that right? Yeah. And so it's like, you know, and honestly, I don't buy coffee out that much. I would prefer to make it at home, mostly because I don't want to go anywhere. And also, I don't think they're consistent. And I know how I want it. And I never trust, like if I ask for decaf, is it actually decaf? And I don't trust that if I ask for sugar-free syrup, they're going to give me sugar-free syrup, you know, all the things. So, but when I make it at home, it's mine and it's way cheaper. Anyway, so this was something because I am very frequently like, oh, I see it, I want it, I buy it. And Zach and I always joke about that too, that like we don't really buy each other gifts because when we find something that we want, we just buy it. And again, these are not huge purchases. Like, we have if we spend over $1,000, if it's going to be over $1,000, we can actually have a discussion about it. But anything up to that, like, we have freedom within that as long as it's within the budget and all the things. But this made sense to me that, what are these little things that I'm doing that are sabotaging me because I'm believing that I don't know how to handle money, right? And so I need to get rid of it. And so, yeah, I just want you to know that I'm currently in a challenge season in this. And I'm inviting you along too, because I guarantee you probably have some money mindset issues as well. And I don't want to be the reason that our family is held back from being able to do bigger, greater things in this world because we're not tied down to the typical norms of things, you know? So, like, God's got a big calling for us. I mean, Zach and I are a dynamic duo. We are one heck of a powerhouse of a couple. And that's only because of the work that he's done in us. Let me just say that. Not because of anything we've done, but because of the work that he's done in us and the fact that we were willing to surrender and be obedient to him. But we know that he would not reconcile us together, and do all the work he's done if he didn't have a greater purpose for his kingdom. And just like I've always said in health, that I don't want my health to be such a, like, something that I don't even think about, that it holds me back from when God says go. I don't want my health to ever be something that I say, oh, well, I'm 37. Like, I can't hike up that mountain. I want to say, let's go, got my shoes on. Woo! We'll figure it out on the way, right? Like, yes, Lord, send me, just like Isaiah. And so I think that right now, where Zach and I are, at least where I am right now too, this really feels like a heavy area for me of money, how I think about it, how I use it, being stuck in this cycle that I just don't think that we were ever meant to be stuck in, as believers especially, because everything is God's. He can give, like, there is nothing that, so I just don't want my financial insecurities and my financial lack of understanding, I guess you could say, to be the thing that holds us back from being able to do the things that he is calling us to do, right? And I've always said, I want to be that person that, sees a need and is able to, without hesitation, write a check to do whatever, right? And it's so interesting because right now, the kids and I we're raising funds to go to Guatemala, the four of us, and we still need like $5,500. And now I feel like the guilt is like piling on because every time I buy something, I'm like, I could have put that in our Guatemala fund instead. But there's also a piece of me that God called us into this, and I know he's going to provide. Like, I know that, and I don't know that right now he is wanting us to foot that whole bill, and I think that that's kind of the hard part of it for me, because that's easier for me, because that's relying on myself. And I truly believe that in this situation, he is wanting to work through other people, not me. And so we're still being faithful and we're showing up, and like we're raising the funds. But but like going forward in the future, like I would just love to be able to, the person on the other side, to have someone come up, because we've had missionaries come up to us before and say, like, we're 10,000 short. Like, I want to be the person that can write that check, like, not for my glory, but just to say the Lord's provided, because he's called us to add value in these ways. And we have this because of that. And also he gave us a brain, right, to learn these things. And I would love to be in that situation, to be able to do that, to be able to give big and give freely, and unexpectedly, because I think we're all called to give consistently, right? But big and unexpectedly is something, I should write that down. I like that. Big and unexpectedly. Maybe I'll tattoo it on my forehead. But okay, before this gets any longer, I would love to know. So leave me a review or send me a message. You can actually text me now to 920-521-8012. You can text START and you can directly get text messages from me about mindset, about coaching, about all the things. And I don't like a bunch of spam messages either because I have 4 kids in school and I already get tons of messages and notifications and I don't want to blow your phones up. But it is good. So if you have something about mindset, money mindset, you can text me START. START, and you will get in the texting thread and you will get some amazing stuff from me, and you can send me your money mindset things, and I would love to, as I'm growing and learning, share those things with you as much as possible. Hope you enjoyed this today, and we will talk soon.